Hello, Mr. Bradford. Welcome to the Waingels podcast. Thank you for agreeing to come on and answering some questions today.
You're very welcome. It's good to be here. Thank you.
So, how has your time at Waingels been so far?
It's been very good. Fourth week in, so time's flowing by. But really happy with how it's going. Really enjoying the school. It's been nice to meet all of the staff and all of the students and to get to know my classes a little bit better.
Amazing. Why did you choose to work at Waingels? What was the interview process like, and was it scary?
So I chose to work at Waingels mainly because of the job that was on offer. It was a PE and science role, which you don't see very many of, and I thought that was really well suited to my degree. So that was one of the main reasons. The interview process, it was quite scary. I had to deliver a handball lesson to Year 8 girls, which is not something I'd done before. So it was really thrown in the deep end with that one. But it was a good experience, and I was able to reflect on the lesson in the interview process, and I think it was appreciated that I was honest about how the lesson went. It was good though to meet staff during that experience. Some of the people that I'm working with now, they were really nice and helpful to me throughout that process. So very grateful to them.
And can you explain to our listeners which subject you teach and which personal development group you support?
So I'm teaching PE and science, mainly science with a little bit of PE on the side, and I support 7L personal development group. They've been very lively and very fun, and a good start to my career teaching.
So why did you choose science and PE as subjects to teach? Is your degree in one of these subjects?
Yeah, so my degree kind of encompasses both subjects pretty well, with it being a sport and exercise science degree. So that was a lot of science and then a little bit of PE, and then in my training year I managed to do a little bit of PE alongside science, which I did as my main subject, so with a biology specialism, because that kind of relates to PE the most.
Yes. And lastly, so our listeners can get to know you a little better, tell us something about you that we don't know.
You might not know that I'm a bit of a film and TV buff, as well as being into my sports and into my science. I am able to sit on my backside every now and then, so I enjoy watching a lot of TV and a lot of films. So if you have any questions or you want to quiz me on any movies, then go for it.
Thank you, Mr. Bradford, for featuring on our podcast.
No problem. Thank you.
Hello, Miss Bellis. Welcome to the Waingels podcast. Thank you for agreeing to come on and answer some questions today.
Thank you for having me. I was quite flattered to be asked, but I am a little bit nervous, so nice.
So how has your time at Waingels been so far?
I've really enjoyed my time so far. It's very busy, but my kind of focus for the first week or two was to kind of get out there and know the students. There's so many new names and faces to learn, but I really enjoyed kind of being out on the gate, being out kind of on duty and things, chatting to students and building those relationships with them before kind of setting kind of ground rules and things, but also getting to know the staff, because there's so many new faces and names. It's really difficult to come in and learn all of those, but I've enjoyed it. It's been busy but good.
So why did you choose to work at Waingels?
Okay, so I had been at my school for 10 years. I was really kind of felt ready in my career for a new challenge. I've done a lot of curriculum work through my time, and this role was more pastoral, behaviour wise, but also linking kind of skills I would have learned from curriculum through like data tracking and but also relationships with people that I could transfer into this role. I also live locally, so I was really excited to work kind of as part of the community and work with students who live in Woodley and will be a part of my life and kind of the surrounding area, but also I've got young children and they probably will come here in the future, so it's really an important role in the community, I think.
What was the interview process like?
It was really stressful. It was a tough process. It was 2 days. So we came in on the first day and didn't really know what we were going to You kind of know what an assistant head teacher interview will consist of, but you don't know the exact details. But it was, so we had to one day and then you get called for the second day if you're successful. So I think Miss Street called me about 6:30 on that first night to let me know, and because it was later I thought, oh no, I'm definitely not going to get through, but obviously I did get through. And then they told us we had to lead an assembly the next day. I think mine was to year 8, so I'm promoting a love of reading. So obviously then had to plan that, and that was quite nerve-wracking to present to a whole year group who didn't know you, and also quite a challenging topic to get them to engage with. So that was tough. And then I think there were about 3 panel interviews with staff over those days. I also had to do a student interview, had to do learning walks, had to teach, obviously, because that's the most important job that we do, teaching here. But yeah, it was tough, but I enjoyed it, and it was good to kind of meet the staff as well and meet the children that we would be working with, and I got a good vibe from it, which is why when Mrs. Humber offered me the job, I was jumped at it because I enjoyed the days that I had here.
Being on the leadership team, can you explain to our listeners what your roles and responsibilities are within Waingels?
Yeah, so I was trying to go through what my responsibilities are and make sure I included them all, so hopefully I will do. So I oversee Year 7 with Mr. Pole, I oversee PE and I oversee computing, so I line manage the leaders within those. I also oversee attendance in the school. I work on the behaviour team with Miss Street, kind of supporting her and guiding with that, so that attendance behaviour is everyone's responsibility. We're driving on that transition, so when year 6 is into year 7, so next year I'll be going out into primary schools and working with them, and the open evening, that's a really important role for me. Admissions, so when people apply to Waingels, I work with that, and also a main one that we're really trying to hit the ball rolling with this year and really important to the students is anti-bullying. So I'll be leading, so we've just met as an anti-bullying team with staff but also with students, and we always want more people to be involved. So this is quite a good plug for that maybe. But yeah, really important because we want to make Waingels a safer and happier community.
How did your favourite subject at school influence your career path?
So a lot of people actually don't know this from when I've been Waingels. I'm actually a PE teacher by kind of initial career. So I loved PE at school. I actually was a gymnast, which might come under my interesting fact later on. So I was a gymnast, loved PE, loved every single sport, got on with my PE teachers really well, did A-level PE along with biology and chemistry, and went to do sports science at university. Didn't really know what I wanted to do, came back, did a bit of cover supervisor at my school, and then did my teacher training. I think being a PE teacher, we're quite competitive. We have good leadership skills, we're quite ambitious. So I think that's really helped me develop up the career path as well. But because I love PE, I just want to share that love with other younger children, students, and also doing your favourite subject for your life career is really how many people can say they get to do that and then teach other students that as well. So that was really good.
Looking back over your teaching career, can you share with us a funny or embarrassing story?
This is really tough because there's some things obviously we can't tell as teachers. There's many funny stories. But yeah, one we had at my old school where I was for 10 years, so I was head of PE there for some time, and we had a mock Ofsted inspector come in to do a trial Ofsted, and she was out watching PE, and so at the end of my lesson you kind of get the equipment away, send the children to the changing rooms, lock up the Astro. Didn't really look on the Astro, or check my class off, lock the Astro, lock the inspector on the Astro, so she couldn't get off. So we quickly had to get her out, hopefully before she noticed, but I think she did notice, and we thought, maybe we should bribe her, we'll get a good review, but we did not bribe her, we did let her out, but that was quite funny, we laughed about that after.
And lastly, so our listeners can get to know you a little better, tell us something about you that we don't know.
So I mentioned earlier I was a gymnast, so I think because people don't see me in PE kit, they don't really know that I'm a PE teacher. But I was a gymnast, I used to do it for Great Britain, so that's quite a good fact about me.
Thank you, Miss Bellis, for featuring on our podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
Hello, Mr. Jordan. Welcome to the Waingels podcast, and thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Harry. It's a pleasure to be here.
So my first question for you is, how has your time at Waingels been so far?
It's been really, really positive. I've been so impressed with how friendly everybody is, including the staff and the pupils. Every day I get asked how I'm doing and how I'm settling in. The days go so quickly. Everything's been really enjoyable so far. Loving it.
Why did you choose to work at Waingels, and what was the interview process like? Was it scary?
So I came here as a pupil a long time ago, and I've always wanted to return to the school that I taught at. It's like a bit of a privilege for me to come back here. I heard about the job through a member of staff who works here already, Mrs. Eaglesham, and I knew a lot of people that worked here, and they were extremely positive and enjoyed working at Waingels. So I came for a tour, met Mrs. Seymour, who was absolutely lovely. I met the department in history, they were fabulous. Then I decided to go for the job. I'd worked at another school for 21 years, so to come here was quite a big leap for me. I'm so glad I did. I had to come in on a day, I had to teach a lesson to year 7, which I think went quite well. They were very positive and engaged. I then had an interview with Mr. Johnson and Mrs. Seymour, which felt a little bit like when you're on your apprentice, when you're asked lots of questions. It does put you a bit on edge, but I was made to feel really welcome, and luckily they offered me the job.
So can you explain to our listeners which subjects you teach and which personal development group you support?
I teach history, and I am a tutor for the fantastic 10I.
So history is my favourite subject. So why did you choose it as a subject to teach, and is your degree in history?
So my degree is a combined honours. I have a degree in English and history. History is a fantastic subject. I always enjoyed it at school. I really enjoyed it when I went through university. There's so many things to learn about. It's a very broad and varied subject. A lot of the things that happened in the past can help us understand what's going on today. And I think with anything in history, there's always more than one thing that made it happen. So it's that interlinkage of factors that makes history such an enjoyable subject.
It is good fun. Looking back over your teaching career, can you share with us a funny or embarrassing story?
I can. There's probably quite a lot after the last 21 years. I have been known to sit in the wrong classroom at times and wait for classes, but probably the most embarrassing was the first time I had to do main school assembly at my last school, which is in front of the whole school, and you walked in and the whole school was kind of stood up until you got to the stage, and the head teacher walked in and I was behind them, and as I walked up the stairs, one of my friends who was a senior leader tapped me on the back of the feet, and I tripped up the stairs, nearly took out the head teacher. Luckily I didn't. So that was quite embarrassing. And then when I got to the lectern where my notes were, he had written a little post-it note that said "your flies are undone," which put me off my stride quite badly. They obviously weren't, but yeah, that was a pretty embarrassing morning.
Yeah. And lastly, so our listeners can get to know you a little better, tell us something about you that we don't know.
I like to travel, and I've been quite lucky on some flights that I've been on that I've bumped into some quite famous people. So I was going to Barcelona one year, and sat next to me was Mo Farah, which was pretty amazing. It took me about 20 minutes to pluck up the courage to ask if it was him, and it actually was. He was the nicest guy ever. He was going over to Barcelona to do some warm weather training. So I plucked up the courage to ask if I could have a selfie, and there's the picture, so you can see I'm not telling a lie. So there he is. So yeah, really nice guy.
That's cool. Thank you, Mr. Jordan, for featuring on our podcast.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And
hello Ethan and Tashve, welcome to the Waingels podcast. Thank you for agreeing to come on and answering some questions today.
Hello.
Hello.
How has your time been at Waingels so far? Have you enjoyed joining the community?
It's been great at Waingels. It's a big school, better than my primary school because it was really small. I enjoyed like climbing the big stairs at Waingels. It's a really nice school. I enjoy it. There's so many clubs.
Well, it's definitely a difference because obviously, as Tashby mentioned, obviously here at Waingels, obviously there's every single block is got its own set things. So like in yellow, it's languages and drama and all different, and then so and so for green and red. And see, it's a lot different to my school because it's all connected and you don't have to go outside, which is always good because obviously you might get hot in a classroom, so obviously you're not moving around as much as you do here, so it's nice.
What are your favourite subjects and why?
Probably, I've got a list of I really have like so many favourite subjects. Firstly, science, because we got to do experiments. First we did like the Bunsen burner like experiments, and we got our license, and then we did like microscope. We like learned how to use a microscope, and we got our microscope licenses as well. So I love science. Then I like drama, because it's really fun standing up on stage, acting like it's like you're in a different world when you do drama. Not like PE, because I love PE, it's just nice. So these are my 3 favourite subjects.
My favourite subjects would have to be between Spanish and English. Reading. Spanish because I love learning different languages, and before joining Waingels I've been using like Duolingo to help me learn Spanish, and yeah, just like learning the language. And English or reading, whatever, because the book we're reading in it is called October, which is a really good book to step up from the books I read in primary school.
Have you joined any extracurricular clubs yet? If so, which ones?
I've done netball club. It's really nice, and badminton club, because other than like the in-school badminton club, I do badminton outside school. So I like badminton. It's like one of my hobbies. And I'm also planning to join the debating club because I like debating.
Which personal development group are you both in? What are your favourite activities during this time?
We both are in 7G with Mr. Sill. So my favourite activity is probably when we like talk about a certain topic and we like get into groups of 3 or 4 and we like talk about it, because I like debates and discussions.
My favourite activity we've done in PD time, which is personal development time, is when we did the postcard right into our old school, just to sit and send it to your old teachers or any person from your old school that you wanted to talk to.
What's the best thing about Waingels so far?
Like making new friends, because in my old school I did have a few friends but not many. But when I came to Waingels I made like at least 6 new friends because of my different like groups, because I have different groups, like I have like an art group, a maths group, all these were put in different groups. It's not just the one you're in tutor group, because there's no guarantee you will be in the same group. But yeah, because of like all the different groups, I made more friends. So that's the best thing about Waingels.
Best thing about Waingels I've done is, one of them to start off is the food is a lot different to my primary school's food.
Thank you listeners for tuning in today. We'll be back again very soon. Bye for now.